Hey guys, and I'm back. So, this is another out of body experience that I had um a few weeks ago, I should say, maybe 3 weeks or so ago. Well, let me preface this by saying I have recorded this video at least 4 times, and for whatever reason, I have not been able to get the entire video out. And so I took that as a sign to just kind of chill out. So I'm trying this one more time. So here it is. Now, this video is, or this out of body experience was one in which I was trying to, well, I tried to integrate again. Those of you that have watched previous videos, you'll know what that means about integration. Those of you that have not watched those videos just yet, by all means, take a look. But yeah, I tried to integrate again, and this time it was interesting, and not necessarily in the best of way. I can laugh now, but at the time it was like, oh goodness, here we go again. But anyways, so this out of body experience starts off in a lawn. It's on a lawn in front of a brick building. So there's a brick building, there's a lawn in front, and then there were these three ladies. They were souls. They were looked like they were trying to plant flowers or something. I guess some beautification process for wherever they were in that building. And one of the ladies told me that she was related to me somehow. I don't recall ever meeting her before, but she knew me. The thing that really kind of made this take a little bit of a turn was another lady. One of the other ladies said that she was my sister, and that my oldest sister, that's still alive, is was should be on her way soon. Now, mind you, I don't know whether or not this lady knows something that I don't know, or if she's telling me that my sister's about to transition or whatnot. Because I have quite a few sisters. I have a couple brothers as well. Because Papa was a Rolling Stone, and so yeah, we have quite a few siblings. But my oldest sister, she named her by name. She called her name. And so that kind of got my attention. But I tried my best to not let on that I was even thinking of anything of sorts about what she said. I try to be even keel so that emotions and whatnot don't bleed through, because they can make some stuff happen in the astral plane, but this is not about that. So she tells me my sister should be on her way soon, and I kind of brush it off for the most part. And I, for whatever reason, think, let me see if my light works. And so that's what I do. I do the and all of a sudden these other souls they appeared behind the three ladies. It had to have been maybe about 5 or 6 of them just popped up. And souls do that from time to time. Now, I don't know whether or not they were alive or if they were dead, but something tells me that some of them were actually alive and they just simply were unconscious at the time. And I'll explain why in a minute. But when I cast the light, they appeared, but I also saw these highlight colored specks and blotches over them. Some of them had a few, some of them had a lot. And from what I've read, when you see artificial colors like that in the astral plane, especially, that means that's a sign of residue that's been left, or hooks that are left within a soul that's being drained, essentially drained of their light, their energy. Okay. So, but I did notice the blotches. So those light blotches, that residue, all of that, it shows where they are hooking into the individual soul. All right. Now, depending on the number of blotches that a person has, it can also kind of tell us a bit of a story. It looked to me like some of them very well may have been alive because, oddly enough, our physical body does act as a grounding source as well as a source of energy as too, and we can hold and contain quite a bit of energy that they can actually use as that the bureaucracy or the matrix can use as energy too. But that's a whole other topic for another discussion. But one of them, that lady that had a whole bunch of them, she was hooked in, baby, plugged in, and a lot of them in that area kind of looked like they were lower energy. As a matter of fact, when I did the little whoosh thing, when I looked at them, now mind you, they were standing behind the ladies, and the ladies I was previously speaking with, they kind of looked exposed, like, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh my God, like I gotta cover up. They didn't. I don't think that they realized what was going on, but they knew something was different and they were kind of exposed. I guess my awareness in this case may have exposed things that they didn't realize was going on, and they themselves may have become somewhat aware as well because of the energy that I had exuded at that point. But anyways, so there was a that street that's in front of the building. It kind of ran parallel to the building, and I noticed that there were these other souls just kind of strolling around. Now, once I cast this light, I'm calling it UV because that's kind of what it gave, a UV sense. And once I did that, they all kind of ran towards one direction and then scattered. So I'm thinking, oh, at first I didn't realize it was most likely my fault for that. But I ran behind them trying to figure out, ooh, where's the commotion? Let me see what's going on. Just trying to be nosy. And some of them went down an adjacent street. And this street actually had it's like a covering, like a tunnel. Y'all know those on the interstate, sometimes when you go through different areas, they'll have these tunnels that are, you go through the tunnel, it's dark in there, but they'll have light sometimes they won't, and then you end up on the other side. Well, it was kind of like that. It was a covered tunnel looking area with a street going through it and other souls that were, the ones that had ran off. I just kind of let them go because I didn't know what was going on, and I couldn't really follow anyone in particular because they just scattered everywhere. So I just kind of gave up on that. But it looked like a makeshift homeless shelter place, if you will. Sometimes you'll see where some of the homeless people, they'll kind of make a makeshift area for them to sleep, area kind of off to the side where, nobody's kind of messing with them. Some of them have like a sofa, and in this case, there was a couch. There was several other souls just kind of in that area, a bit humglum, a bit low energy. They still had their faces and all of that stuff, so apparently they had enough light to be able to generate enough energy to have a face. Okay, so I walk up towards the sofa and I noticed a guy sitting with there were three kids. And I really didn't pay the kids too much mind, but I probably should have because I noticed that after I came up to him, and we started to talk, they somehow disappeared. I don't know how that happened, but they did. They just disappeared. And it was just me and this guy that we were talking. He looked very, very familiar. And I was thinking, okay, maybe I can try my integration. Now, mind you, I'm thinking this in my head, but he heard me and he was just kind of like, now that I can do. He literally said that, now that's something I can get into. So I should have known something was off at that point, but me being aloof and not really understanding the situation, I was like, hey, integration. Y'all know I've been trying to integrate for a minute and it just have not been working. This time, well, was different. So I get myself in a position for integration, and I'm just gonna call it an appendage. My appendage. uh, he's like it wasn't fully erect, so he grabs it. He's like, "Well, we can't do anything like this." And then of course I'm kind of like, "Dude, I know. Just give me a minute." Oh my God, this is cringe, but it is what it is. It's like, dude, I know. Just give me a moment. And sure enough, I'll be, I rose to the occasion. Let's just say. So the thing when it comes to integration is not quite like one person is just giving of all of their energy, or at least not it's not supposed to be that way. What it is you connect and you merge, and like literally your beings will merge. So there may be like one part of you that may protrude out, maybe a hand, it could be even your chest, it could be any number of parts, but ultimately you can create a way to merge with the other entity, and y'all exchange energies and information. Now, again, though, in this case, I may have taken on the persona of having an appendage and having to rise to the occasion, but ultimately my energy was supposed to go into his being, but it was supposed to come back to me as well. Like we literally exchange, we become one, merge entities, and then boom, then release, rinse and repeat. You know. So, anyways, in this case, finally we get in the position to integrate. And he's merging, like coming close, he's merging into my being, so to speak. So much so to where I saw one of his eyes, and the eye turned yellow. And I'm kind of like, okay, it's yellow. That it wasn't like that before. So for some reason, I'm gonna just say that my higher self brought to my attention, just tell him that you're not dead. I don't know why I just, but hey, I let it. I go with it. And I tell him, I say, guess what? I'm not dead. And the moment I say that, his eyes go, and by then it was too late. I feel this whirling sensation in the pit of at the bottom of my abdomen, right? It wasn't uncomfortable, but it wasn't pleasurable at all. It was just like this whirling sensation. And then all of a sudden I get shocked. Like it was a tick, tick, that's what it felt like, tick, 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 like a shock in my physical member, if you will. Oh my God. I get shocked and I'm kind of like, what the hell just happened here? And so it kind of broke me out of the moment, but I was not in my body, back in my physical body at the time. So I'm sitting here like, now I'm shocked. And what ended up actually happening though is the feed essentially got cut. Well, whenever we come into contact with entities and you decide, or if you want to integrate, you should, or at least you want to try to be in the same in resonance with each other, the possibly even having the same amount of energy, or at least an energy that can match or meld together. In this case, it was a mimic with an overlay of someone who I thought was someone I knew, right? So I'm starting to understand people that you come in contact with. Not all of them are like people that you know, because what they'll do is they'll scan for memories they'll scan, and possibly even memories from a different lifetime, because I just know I knew them. I don't know how, but again, they'll scan and then they can mimic the face, and even the body of a person that you knew, and all in an effort to gain energy, to gain loose. So he was about to get a lot of energy from me because my awareness has been growing. So whenever an entity like that comes in contact with an aware soul, it's so much energy, is an energy that they can't really extract. And as a matter of fact, it can cause them to dissipate. Sometimes it causes them to implode. It can cause them, ultimately they won't really exist anymore. And so they have to be, most of the time, people that are in the lower astral plane, and they don't realize that they're in the astral plane, even if they have a body connected to them, if they're not aware, then those types of entities can in fact gain energy from them. But it was the opposite in this case because I'm aware. So he didn't, once he realized I was aware of the situation, his being just simply could not stand that type of consciousness, in which case he in fact imploded, right? He literally, the entire room turns black, and the only thing that was left was this yellow light. It was like a yellow, which ultimately, from what after I looked up what was going on, I I found that it was his singular core, what he was in general. So it was like from that particular core sprouted his this entity, this being, a bot, a hologram. It was more like a hologram. You know what I'm saying? So that's what they look like, because it's basically energy that's being exchanged, that we're coming in contact with. Yes, you can see, hear, smell, touch, taste, different things like that, but it's a projection, it's a hologram. So everything and all that entire area was apparently an area that he created. um I guess to me, it would look like a homeless shelter or a homeless area where people would, that are homeless, they kind of make their own little area to live. But that entire area was pretty much wiped out. And unfortunately for him, I caused him to implode. And so, because of my awareness. So, see, the thing is, people, understand there's nothing to really be afraid of. No, you don't want to go around integrating with just any Tom, Dick, and Harry. Like that saying goes. You don't want to go or Jane, Josie, and Jamie. You don't want to necessarily be doing just anything with anybody. So my experience is that entities that we can come in contact with, sometimes, even though they will look attractive or look like people that you know or may have been affiliated with, it very well could be a mimic. So there are ways in which you can kind of tell. But even if you can't tell, as long as you are aware and you know who you are and things like that, just by knowing, you literally can stop yourself from having a lot of issues like extreme lethargy and things that would have likely happened if I hadn't said anything at all. Chances are he probably still would not have been able to extract that much energy from me because of my baseline frequency. But let's say that he did, then that energy would have pulled into him, or it, I should say, because it was not a male female type thing. It's not quite like that. It would have gone into that entity, and then I would have woken up the next morning drained and just kind of like needing some time to just kind of chill and relax and just kind of regroup. And it may have taken a while to get that energy back, provided you don't know how. You know what I'm saying? Eventually, you would get your energy back, but there's nothing to really be afraid of, people. Even in the lower astral plane, you can come in contact with these entities that, even when, again, this was a mimic. Okay, I understand that now, but hey, I'm no worse for wear. It's a learning experience, at least in my case. It's certainly a learning experience. Now I'm good on integrating for a minute, but I mean, because it was, well, I got that electrical shock was something. I mean, don't get me wrong, it wasn't like that bad, but still, it was an electrical shock. I'm like, bro, maybe, you know what I'm saying? Especially if you don't really know how to suss out who is, compatible. You feel me? So now I do know how to determine who is, those entities in the black, those supposed guides that now I'm understanding they really weren't guides at all. They were just simply part of the bureaucracy, trying to entrain me to be something that I'm not. But they, watch out for the colors, the black, especially, even dark brown, y'all. Some of them wear them dark brown suits and they have the holographic faces. They look real, for the most part. It's just, but they're not true souls. You feel me? They are like they call NPCs that are, designed to do certain things, but ultimately they're designed to extract energy, whether that be emotional energy or straight root energy in this case, that would have been mine. However, again, once I said I'm not dead. And they realized like, oh my God, I just messed up. So I'm pretty sure he was like, oh shit, what the hell I'm gonna but it was too late then. We had already come together as like a merge in that merging space. And then all of a sudden, I mean, the whole thing just went black again. Like, so y'all, it is an interesting world out there. What I traded for the world, maybe, but 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 I can't express enough that if you go into this without the fear of different things happening, then there's nothing to be afraid of. Then there's nothing to harm that can harm you. Shit, you can't. It ain't like you can die. You know what I'm saying? We're in these bodies. Yes, the physical body may have some issues with it from time to time, and of course, there's an expiration date on them for the most part. But the true essence of who we are, once you learn, go out there, have some fun, experience people. Don't be scared. Ain't nothing. You know what I'm saying? I've come into contact with a lot of people that they have concerns, but in the grand scheme of things, what is the worst that could actually happen when you do decide to explore and go to these new places, whether they are high or low? You feel me? Because you can't really be hurt. You know what I'm saying? I guess the worst thing that could possibly happen is your energy gets drained and then you have to get regenerated. You feel me? Especially if you know who you are. Now, those people that have belief systems and things like that, and people that are just like don't really know, I get it. You probably need to, you know what I'm saying? Just hold off until you can get rid of completely release yourself from that anything that causes you to be afraid. Caution means that there's something that I need to be aware and afraid of. Experience, explore. It's a game. That's ultimately what this is. Play the game and win. you Because we can win. With that being said, y'all, until next time, I will see and talk to y'all later.